for coming out, and especially the younger kids playing. It was really beautiful. I'm going to start off with a song that I wrote a few 24 hours ago. It's about it's kind of about America, I guess. You were a child in Siberia, the arms of the Cold War infrared. Your father, your mother, your sister, and your brother, and rode in right on. And you moved 7 times by the time you were 10. But as you followed your father in search of a perfect job, and the promise was made by God and by Nixon, and you never thought that one day hope would be gone. The 70s came to bloom. We put a man on the moon. We sent 10-year-old children to their graves. There was sky, there were trees, there were rocks that sparkled in the sun, and opportunity was all around. And there were clouds blowing in from the east. A select few were invited to the feast. Mom went back to work, while Dad sold furniture at night. And the 80s rang like a bell over a barrel under spell. Markets open and wages fell. And I had them image in my brain as real as a picture on TV of a modern day modern American family. And every divorce, every layoff, each uninsured illness is a plot on that screen. And I paid for my high expectations, with food stamps and a loss of self-esteem. And like our best representative Elvis, who's died but somehow still can be seen, we remain in collective denial of the death of the American angel. So if you're like me, you need a new way to respond to the changing day and the otherwise apocryphal dawn. It's ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Give what's left in the middle class another tax cut, and you won't miss suburbia's lawns and lawns, and you won't miss your small town, 'cause your small town's gone, and you won't miss the dreams that you can't buy. You'll have less than your parents, hey, that's alright. Still feel for the folks who worked hard all their lives and lost more than their dreams when America died. And you feel for their children who go to bed hungry tonight. Hungry tonight. Hungry tonight. Thank you. All right, I want to invite everybody here out to the Common Good open mic, which is happening tomorrow night. The Common Good open mic. If you need more information about it, let me know. It's part of a new community center that we're opening right across the way there. Already, we're serving a lot of the underserved community. The homeless population come for our drop-in, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So if you're looking for a way to get back to the community, you can also be involved there. But tomorrow night is just a free meal, a community time to get together. It's truly an open mic. Some people just get up and tell their stories, right? It's really beautiful. So if you want to be involved, please let me know, or just come out tomorrow. It's every third Wednesday we do it at the Trinity, what is it called? The Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, right on the other side of West Main. On the other side, it's on the other side of the freeway on Main. All right. I'm gonna do a poem now, so sorry, not really, but here we go. It's called Letter on the Hours to Come. This is one of a number of poems that is written for people who have died. So this goes out to Rick and Lois, who in the poem are called Eugene and Rosa. Letter on the Hours to Come. You told me once that each of us was wounded, each of us in our own ways. You perhaps by your internalized father, an evangelist of some sort, whose orthodox certainty was its own kind of hell. Me, by the promise of a Southern California smoggy sun, as well as by the pretense of a family held together by changed last names, addictions, forged birth certificates, television laugh tracks, alcohol adverts, silences, and prescription medication. In other words, each of us formed under the bright light of an U.S. mid-century. As Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard and valorized an obviously coked-out Elvis for his anti-drug image, each of us groped towards some new understanding, some vaguely redeemed American excrescence or radio broadcast feedback in the system, some transistorized truth. For me, it came through the AM waves, through music. KHJ radio broadcast to every corner of Los Angeles. David Bowie, The Kinks, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Creedence. Sounds that kick-started and clarified my soul. Although you were more than 2 decades older, we were incubated by the same cultural womb. You in your 20s and 30s, me in my early teens, spoon-fed metaphysics and vague poetics of glam rock. And when the foundation of our dream home cracked, my family drove south on Highway 5. Culturally destitute, I had to survive on 8-track tapes and singles bought with my allowance. Getting high for the first time as Nixon resigned, I was 12 years old, at the boundaries of what could be talked about and felt. Civil society at the end of its rope. Its toes dipped in the cold and salty ocean, its mind made up by the 6 o'clock news. My turn was toward protest and punk, alcohol, weed, Xanax, and Bertolt Brecht. Your turns, as always, were varied and vast, with one of you marrying a political prisoner just out of Dayton Correctional, and the other setting aside his Martin D18 and picking up a Canon T70, just in time to capture the confusion of the early days of Reagan. You once said to me that the world was an unfinished song, the rhythm that had bound us together, shifting from a 4-4 shuffle to a 5 against 4. So I guess it was a polyrhythmic event, a syncopated hunger and thirst, a differentiated kind of earthquake that drove me further up the coast, spewing black smoke and sparks of my inherited bastardry. This, plus capital, plus song, pulling me up and out into the alleyways and sidewalks of the cities, fingers of fog drunk with cheap whiskey, exchanging pie-eyed quasi-religious passion that our cadre of cultural misfits once fed on for the butt ends of half-finished songs, riding a borrowed bike, and then later a second-hand car out across asphalt apocalypses and nightmarish nation states where I wore out my knees in cheap imitation of prayer. Like all good believers and hypnotized workers, even stoned musicians are workers. I chafed my hands on the raw cement of sound. On any given day, I could be, or I could have given St. John of the Cross a run for his money. I lost track of you somehow. I lost track of you, and I tried to pretend that I wasn't the high school dropout. I wasn't the addict. I wasn't the child of 1,000 contradictions, for whose sins we have earned the conditions of labor, spat out as the century crawled to a close. You agreed to come with me on the road, Eugene. Remember that night in Ruston, Louisiana? How drunk I got after the show? You watched me pour drink after drink in the fire of self-hatred smoldering in my body, chain smoking and glaring at kids my own age who seemed so much younger. That's a nod out for you there, I think, Joe, right? Feeling old at 20, 29, at 31, right? It seemed so much younger than me, and I deemed to be better simply because they were going to college. You sat quietly with me as the hate passed out of my body. I'm not even sure that we ever talked that deeply again. How is that even possible? Yet, even without talking, we went through similar changes. Just as you turned to photography, I turned to poems and essays when my songs could no longer capture and hold these newfound images, like the obliquely angled cuts across the inside of my younger cousin's bandaged arms, or planes cutting shapes into buildings, or the temporality of suffering bound up with our dreams of release. Who could say what we were to each other after that night, after we got back from the tour? Our photos and poems were kept separate. No mention of collaboration, of reviving our earlier bond. Me in San Francisco with my ghosts. You in San Fernando Valley with your sister and your nieces and nephews. No way to relate our day-to-day struggles. No way to keep up and help with our own misrecognitions and stumbles. And neither of you had a chance to meet my kids, my beautiful and troubled kids, grown-ups themselves now, and thus caught up in their own contradictions, feeling the brunt of and fending off 1,000 uncredited and inheritable scars. You said to me and my friends, as we were just in our teens, just like these guys here, go out and be normal. In your normality, your uniqueness will somehow shine through. We did our best to be rid of the ego. This plus capital plus song. The boomeranging core of our bland contradictions. And yet, there was so much we couldn't let go. Violent layers of family, secrets that smelled of bleach, fear, and the hum of 120 volts. We imagined bodies trapped between the studs in our walls. It was you who told us that this fear was okay, that it was not in itself failing. I tried to act as though I believed until my fake faith wore out and alcohol and substances rushed in to take its place. So it did not come as a surprise that I thought of both of you often early in my sobriety. When I could not sleep for more than 4 hours a night, I'd abandon my bed in the first false light of dawn. I'd wash away the night sweats and the fear and ride my bike across town when only the bus drivers, the crackheads, and the prostitutes were out on the streets. Without my amnesia, without my anesthesia, the fear would come right off my skin. Its smell would permeate my clothes. My humanness exposed me to the world, and its beauty and its ugliness were overwhelming. I wish I could have been together with you, especially at that time. I would have asked you, what was it like for you, Eugene, when you got back from Vietnam? And Rosa, were you never angry or bitter when you had to put aside your own poetry and music and raise all those kids by yourself? I would have felt 16 and alive again instead of 29 and stupid, and we would have stayed up all night writing and talking. Time itself has taken you away, just as it took my mom and dad. There's something about those Cold War years in Southern California. I think we were all born out of focus and underexposed. And it was our shakiness that brought us together, our shared incompleteness we tried so desperately to hide, economic as much as psychosocial. When I was a kid, as soon as news of our arrival to a new neighborhood found its way to the clicking tongues of our so-called neighbors, this plus capital plus song. My father would have already called the movers. The tempo would have already shifted, and my mother would have drawn down the drapes and turned the porch light off. All right, that was long. I'm sorry about that. That was a long poem story. I'll do one more song and that'll be it for me. Thank you guys for being patient. I know this is weird to do this kind of stuff. So I want to invite you, like I said, to the open mic. I also want to invite you to the next city council meeting where they'll be voting. If you live in Newark, you should know they're going to be voting to criminalize homelessness. And so people will be getting first they'll receive a misdemeanor. The second offense for being on public land, camping, they say on public land, like they have it someplace else to go. These folks will be, on the second offense, they'll be subject to fines and jail time. So that misdemeanor will be on their record and they won't even be able to get housing vouchers. So please show up at city council, the next city council meeting, and tell them how you feel. And this song is about my own early days when I was never really homeless, but I was If it weren't for friends, I would have been. This is my last song. My name is David DeBurr. This song is called The Growing Edge. I think it's my last song, and then we'll have Joe. You can play some songs? Alright, this is our swan song, man. I'll try to play it as nice as possible. First time I was broken was in a Salvation Army home. And the first words that the angel spoke to me convinced me I don't have to live alone. And awful light of morning, with the road so desolate. Trees to show me a new life along the growing edge. And the last time that I touched you, really wasn't you I touched it all. And the smell of death stayed on my fingers long after I'd washed them by the temple wall. Lights of morning, with the road so desolate ahead. Well, I reach out to the twisted trees to show me a new life along the growing edge. I am falling when I turn away from life again. Where broken clouds and bodies descend, and awful light of morning, where the road so desolate ahead. Twisted dreams to show me a new life along the growing bed, a new life along the growing bed. Thanks.